The dining table was covered in university brochures, engineering schools, business programs, scholarships. I had perfect grades, extracurriculars, volunteer work. My brother Jason sat next to me, barely passing half his classes. Dad folded his hands and looked at me carefully. Emily, college is expensive. I nodded. I've been applying for scholarships. Mom sighed. We've decided to focus our support on Jason. I blinked. What? Dad, he needs more help than you do. Mom, you're independent, responsible. You'll figure things out. Jason shifted awkwardly. But Emily's grades are better. Dad waved it off. That's why she'll succeed on her own. The room went quiet. Something cold settled in my chest. That one dinner sentence changed my life forever, and years later, it changed theirs too. If you've ever been the responsible child who was told to figure it out while your sibling got every advantage, or if you've ever felt invisible in your own family while carrying the weight of their expectations, hit that like button right now if this hurts in a familiar way. Subscribe for more stories where the overlooked sibling rises up and delivers the kind of justice that feels earned and deeply satisfying. Let's dive into how one dinner decision sparked a lifetime of quiet revenge. My name is Emily Carter. I was 18 when I learned the hardest truth about my family. Support isn't always fair. It's conditional, and sometimes it skips you entirely. That dinner table conversation still plays in my head like a loop I can't turn off. The brochures were spread out like promises. I had spent months preparing. Perfect grades, SAT scores in the 99th percentile, volunteer hours at the local library, leadership in the debate club. I had applications ready for scholarships that would cover most of my tuition. I just needed a little help to bridge the gap. My brother Jason, he barely passed half his classes, changed his major twice already. Yet the conversation wasn't about him, it was about me. Dad folded his hands and looked at me carefully. Emily, college is expensive. I nodded slowly. I know, that's why I've been applying for scholarships. Mom sighed, the kind of sigh that already carried the answer. We've been talking about it. And then she said the words that would stay with me for years. We're going to focus our support on Jason. I blinked. What? Jason looked just as surprised as I did. Dad continued like it was the most logical thing in the world. Jason needs more help than you do. Mom nodded. You're independent, responsible. You'll figure things out. Jason shifted awkwardly in his chair. But Emily's grades are better than mine. Dad waved a hand. That's exactly why she'll succeed on her own. The room went quiet. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Not rage, just absence, like the air had been sucked out. So you're paying for his college, I said slowly, and not mine? Mom reached across the table. Sweetheart, it's not like that. But it was exactly like that. 3 months later, Jason drove away to a private university in a car my parents helped him buy. New tires, full tank, smiling selfies from the road. Meanwhile, I packed my things into 2 suitcases and moved into a small dorm room funded entirely by student loans and a part-time job at the campus library. I worked late nights shelving books, early mornings before class. Sometimes I slept 4 hours, but I never called home to complain because I understood something early. If someone decides you're not worth investing in, the only answer is to invest in yourself. During my second year, I met Professor Alvarez. He taught entrepreneurial strategy. The first day of class, he asked a simple question. Why do people start companies? Students shouted, money, freedom, power. He shook his head. Wrong. He looked around the room. People start companies because they want to build something no one can take away from them. Those words hit me harder than any lecture I'd ever heard. That night, I sat in the library until 2 a.m. writing business ideas. One of them stuck. a software platform designed to help small businesses manage online sales and inventory automatically. Simple, scalable, something the market desperately needed. But I didn't have investors or connections or money, so I did the only thing I could. I built it myself. For the next 3 years, my life became a routine. Classes during the day, library job in the evening, coding the platform at night. Coffee replaced sleep. But slowly, the software began to work. Local businesses started using it, then more, then dozens, then hundreds. By the time I graduated, the platform had a name, Flowbridge, and it had something even more important, revenue. Meanwhile, Jason's college experience looked very different. He changed majors twice, failed multiple courses, called home constantly asking for money. Every holiday dinner felt the same. My parents would ask Jason about his classes, his friends, his plans. Then someone would eventually turn to me. "So, Emily," Mom would say, "how's the library job?" I'd smile politely. "It's good." I never mentioned the startup, not once, because I wanted to prove something, not to them, to myself. 5 years after graduating, Flowbridge had grown into something bigger than I ever imagined. Thousands of businesses used the platform. Investors came calling, but I didn't sell. Instead, I expanded, hired a team, built offices, scaled internationally. And one morning, sitting in a glass office overlooking the city, I saw the headline: Flowbridge CEO Emily Carter named one of the youngest tech leaders in America. My phone exploded with messages, old classmates, former professors, even distant relatives. And then my parents called. Mom's voice sounded proud. "Emily, we saw the article." Dad laughed. "Looks like you did all right after all." I smiled politely into the phone. "Yes, I guess I did." But something about their tone felt strange. 2 years later, I made a decision, one that had nothing to do with revenge and everything to do with fairness. I created the Carter Opportunity Scholarship, full tuition for students whose families couldn't or wouldn't support their education. Not loans, not partial grants, full rides. The scholarship board planned a large gala to announce the program. Donors, educators, press, hundreds of guests. My assistant walked into my office with a question. "Emily, your parents are asking if they'll be invited." I paused. Thought about that dinner table years ago, the brochures, the quiet dismissal. We're focusing our support on Jason. I looked back at my assistant. "Family members aren't on the guest list." She nodded without asking further questions. The night of the gala arrived. The ballroom glowed with golden lights and crystal chandeliers. Students filled the room, young people with big dreams and uncertain futures. I stood backstage holding my speech. A reporter approached me. "Ms. Carter, what inspired you to create this scholarship?" I took a breath and answered honestly. "Because sometimes the people who should believe in you the most don't." The reporter nodded quietly. Moments later, I stepped onto the stage. The applause was loud. But what I noticed most was the absence. No family table, no parents, no brother. Just hundreds of students who understood exactly what opportunity meant. I looked out across the room and began speaking. "When I was 18 years old, I learned something important," I said. "Support isn't always fair." The room grew silent. "Some people are given every advantage." I paused. "And some people have to build their own." A few students nodded. I continued. "This scholarship exists for the builders, the dreamers, the students who hear no and decide it's not the end of the story." Applause filled the room. Then I announced the first group of recipients, 20 full scholarships, 20 lives changed. Later that night, as the gala ended, I stepped outside onto the balcony overlooking the city. My assistant approached again. "Your parents called earlier." I didn't turn around. "What did they say?" "They asked why they weren't invited." The wind moved softly across the skyline. I thought about everything that had happened. The loans, the sleepless nights, the silence. Then I smiled faintly. Because this scholarship isn't about family legacy, I said. It's about opportunity. And sometimes, opportunity belongs to the people who were never given any. The gala lights dimmed. Guests left with programs in hand. 20 students walked away with full ride scholarships. Lives changed forever. My parents weren't there to see it. They weren't invited. And that absence felt more powerful than any speech I could have given. No dramatic confrontation, no public shaming, just a quiet, undeniable truth. I built something they could never claim, something they could never take away, something that helped people they never believed in. Relief washed over me like cool night air, chest lightening. Years of carrying their dismissal finally lifted. Triumph was soft but complete. Validation in every scholarship awarded, every no turned into a yes for someone else. Justice earned, not punitive, creative, fair as their favoritism deserved. Sometimes the deepest revenge isn't taking something away, it's building something they can never touch. If you've ever been the independent one told to figure it out while others got every advantage, know this. You don't need their approval to succeed. You don't need their applause to shine. You just need to keep building. And when the structure is finished, you won't even remember who failed to show up. If this story gave you that deep, finally exhale, or that quiet fist pump of recognition, smash the like button and tell me in the comments, were you ever the overlooked sibling who had to figure it out alone? How did you rise? Or are you still carrying that weight? We read every single comment. And subscribe for more Reddit revenge stories where the quiet builders finally stand tall. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.